I've told him from day one, you're getting killed on energy. You're windmilling your country to death. Open up the North.
Fresh political pressure is now exploding around British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and now even US President Donald Trump is weighing in on the growing crisis surrounding the Labour leader. As Starmer faces mounting calls to resign following devastating local election results for Labour, Trump used a White House press interaction to deliver blunt advice to the embattled British Prime Minister ahead of Starmer's departure for China.
What's your advice to Keir Starmer, sir? He seems to be on the brink.
Well, my advice to him has always been, open up your oil in the North Sea. You got one of the great oil finds anywhere in the world, and you're not using it. They're not allowed to use it. And it's one of the best in the world, among the best oils in the world. Open up your oil in the North Sea and get tough on immigration.
Should he stay or go?
Europe is being very, very hurt by immigration all over Europe.
But the US president didn't stop there. Trump went on to accuse Starmer of windmilling Britain to death, a swipe at renewable energy policies and wind power expansion. He then delivered another sharp message aimed directly at Britain's immigration crisis.
But I've told him from day one, you're getting killed on energy. You're windmilling your country to death. Open up the North Sea. You have one of the greatest sources of energy in the world. Open up the North.
The comments landed at a politically explosive moment for Starmer, whose leadership is suddenly facing serious turbulence inside his own party. After storming into power with a landslide victory less than 2 years ago, Starmer's government is now battling growing frustration over the economy, public services, and the rising cost of living, with reports claiming dozens of lawmakers have privately or publicly questioned whether Starmer should continue leading the government. During remarks outside number 10 Downing Street following a cabinet meeting, ministers publicly rallied behind the Prime Minister as speculation over his political future intensified.
Well, it's the fact. We've had a very purposeful cabinet meeting talking about the big issues facing our economy and society. Nothing has been triggered. I'm about to go off to Brussels to continue working with Brussels to deepen a relationship, to benefit Britain. We are working hard on the big issues that are facing the country, and Keir is showing really steadfast leadership.
The Prime Minister talked about the challenges we face as a country, the crisis in the Middle East, the impact on the cost of living here, and that this government will do what we were elected to do, which is serve the British people. The Prime Minister has my full support in this. And let me just say this. There is a process to challenge the leader. No one has made that challenge. And what people would expect me to do is to focus on how we can grow the economy, tackle the cost of living, and give them a better life.
So the Prime Minister
and
saying
that
puts
is
a
what
push
did
on
anyone
with his job, as he should, as the public will expect him to do. And I'm going to continue with mine.
Pat, did anyone challenge him? Did anyone challenge him around that table? Did anyone publicly challenge him around the cabinet table?
They didn't. Many statements of support for the job that he's doing, and that's what the public.
What about those
Can
he hang on?
He'll carry on.
Can he hang on?
Wants to carry on with his job, as he should, as the public will expect him to do.
And despite the growing calls for his resignation, Starmer insisted he has no intention of stepping aside. In fact, the British leader had already signaled his fighting stance earlier. On 11 May, Starmer directly addressed critics inside both Labour and the wider electorate, promising to prove the doubters wrong.
In terms of the policy challenges that our country faces, incremental change won't cut it. On growth, defence, Europe, energy, we need a bigger response than we anticipated in 2024. Because these are not ordinary times. And this is a political challenge just as much as it's a policy challenge. Delivery is, of course, essential, but it's not sufficient on its own to address the frustration that voters feel. We're battling reform and the Greens, but at a deeper level, we're battling the despair on which they prey, despair that they exploit and amplify. And so analysis matters, but argument matters more. Evidence matters, but so too does emotion. Stories beat spreadsheets. People need hope. So we will face up to the big challenges. Millions of people held back because the status quo in this country does not work for them. I am fighting for them. We are fighting for them. I am their Prime Minister and this is their government. So I can announce that legislation will be brought forward this week to give the government powers, subject to that public interest test, to take full national ownership of British Steel. This is nothing less than a battle for the soul of our nation. And I want to be crystal clear about how we will win it. Because we cannot win as a weaker version of Reform or the Greens. We can only win as a stronger version of Labour, a mainstream party of power, not protest. In relation to Andy Burnham, obviously any future decision is for the NEC. Andy's doing a great job as mayor in Manchester. And I actually work really well with Andy, and I'll give you two examples. On Northern Powerhouse Rail, which is really important for the North West, we are working together on that project. But equally, we've stood together to support Manchester, the community, when we had the terrible attack on a synagogue last year. Andy was the first person I phoned, and I went straight to Manchester to work with him on our response. So we work very well together, but the actual decision will be one for the NEC. I think what we witnessed with the last government was the chaos of constantly changing leaders. And it cost this country a huge amount. A huge amount. And I'll tell you who paid the price. It was working people. They paid the price of this. They are still paying the price of this. A Labour government will not inflict that on our country again. We were elected with a mandate to change this country because of what had gone before. And that is what we will do. Yes, I acknowledge the frustration. Yes, I acknowledge the results are tough. Yes, I acknowledge that we've lost brilliant representatives across the United Kingdom. And I have a responsibility for that. But I also have a responsibility to deliver the change that we were elected and that we promised this country, and I'll deliver on that. I'm not going to shy away from the fact that I've got some doubters, including in my own party, and I'm not going to shy away from the fact that I have to prove them wrong, and I will. I had my doubters when I took on the Labour Party. I had my doubters who said we couldn't change this party and make it capable of winning an election, and I proved them wrong. And when we did that, I had my doubters who said, you can't lead us to a general election victory after the loss in 2019. It was so bad. It's not possible. And I proved them wrong. I'm going to prove them wrong again here. Yes and no. No, I'm not going to walk away in relation to the first part of your question for the reasons I've set out. And no, I don't think Britain is ungovernable. On the contrary, one of the things that I draw great strength from is all the millions of people who care passionately about their place, their community, where they live, where they work. The millions of people who give hours and hours and hours of their time for their community, volunteering, helping others, running teams, you name it. That is a great strength of our country. Yeah, well, Jim, what I want to do is take a big leap forward with the EU-UK summit this year. And take us closer, both on trade, the economy, defence and security. And that will then be a platform on which we can build as we go forward. And as we do that, I strongly believe we've got to turn our back on the arguments of the past, not open old grievances, but look forward together to how we make this country stronger, how we make this country fairer. And so that's the approach that I will take.